everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of season 3 of Whine with HR. We are so happy to be back with you. We have a fun episode, a very fun and light episode for you this Whine Wednesday. So we hope you enjoy it. We are going to be doing a get to know us episode because we figured we're starting fresh. We're doing a lot of new things this year. We have a lot of new people joining, and you may not know the backstory of me and Trisha, how Monarch came to be, how Whine came to be, and just things about us. So, this is also a great thing to do with your teams, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So, there is some lessons to be learned here, as always. We can't just have a non-learning episode of Whine.
Well, we could try, but
We
it would
could
never
try.
work out.
Right, right. We are teachers at heart.
Yeah.
So, but of course, before we get to that, we need to talk about our WINE. So I'm going to toss it over to Trisha. First, Trish, tell us where you are and tell us what you're drinking.
Well, I am actually in Houston, Texas. I'm teaching a seminar. I taught a HR journalist seminar last week, and this week I'm teaching internal investigations. So been out here. This is like day 8 or something like that. It's definitely a lot hotter here than home. Speaking of which, I have to warn you guys, my video may be a little weird. We are between storms here and there's potential for tornadoes. So if you see me diving off screen, that might be why. Or if my connection is a little fuzzy, that might also be why. But I have chosen what I think is just a lovely wine. It's called Love Block. And I had actually picked out a wine next to it and went to grab it. And when I did, I saw the label and I just instantly just fell, because anyone who knows me knows like I am obsessed and always try to say, don't kill the dandelions, right? I'm a big believer in dandelions and that they're a great indicator of soil health and they're really good for the bees, et cetera, et cetera. So this wine goes right along with that. It says, at the heart of our farming and winemaking practice is respect, environmental care, and deep sustainability from soil to bottle. So that, of course, snuck me right in. And then it talks about vibrant fruit and crushed sweet herbs balanced with zingy acidity and long layers of texture. And again, I just got really sucked in by that description, and I really, really enjoy it. Julie, you said you've had some of this before and you liked it as well?
Yes, I have had that in the United Club while traveling.
Lovely.
Now, it is one of the ones you have to pay for. It's not free, but
Right.
it was worth it. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yay. Good. Yeah. I'm a few sips in and really, really loving it. As you all know, or may not know, maybe you're new to us. Julie and I do have a thing for Sauvignon Blanc. And now that I'm in a place where I'm so hot, it's like the perfect thing for me to be drinking today. So what about you, Jules?
Well, so I am drinking something that I have showcased on a prior episode, but it was a different season, so I figured I'd bring it back. And part of that is because it is one of the few boxed wines that I actually like. But I had a box open, and even though it is cold and chilly here today, so I otherwise probably would have gone with a red, I didn't want to have both a box and a bottle open. That felt a little extreme.
I could understand that.
So I am drinking Grazie wine. It is from Italy. It is a boxed wine that is lovely. This is just their white blend, but their motto is live slow. And it's just, it's sort of like a cross between a Sauvignon Blanc and a Bordeaux Blanc. So maybe somewhere in a Chenin Blanc lane. It's mild, really nice. It's a perfect summer wine. perfect summer wine. And I'm just trying to bring summer here because it's just been rainy and gray and damp and cold, and I'm over it. So,
I get that.
yeah. So this is one of my favorites. I just enjoy it. I usually am not, as you know, Trish, a boxed wine drinker because I don't often, contrary to what most people would believe, drink it fast enough to make it worth having a box. But this is one where it's just really nice because you can have one glass and it's going to stay. It stays for like 4 months.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, it's a little bit pricier than most box wines, but I think it's like $48 a box. And if you are on their subscription plan, you get, a little bit of a discount. But it is one of my favorite, and I love the live slow. They often send you free gifts. So like with my last order, they sent me a couple of wine glasses. So,
That's so
it's
cool.
fun. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
live slow. Grazie.
Grazie.
Okay, so as I mentioned, we are going to be asking each other a bunch of questions just so you guys can get to know us a little bit better. But before we get into that, we wanted to talk about how this is a really great thing to do with your teams, to do with your coworkers, just to get to know them on a deeper level. So, Trish, you want to start off by just mentioning a few reasons why this can be such a great experience for the workplace?
I would love to. I think that one of my favorite reasons is because I like to start creating connections between employees right away. And not just employees. I know this works because, as we just mentioned, I am teaching courses all over the country. Not only that, I also teach them virtually. And when you're in a virtual environment, especially, it is really, really hard to create connections. So if you have a lot of virtual team members, this is also something that you can do with them to help kind of create that team atmosphere. Um, and one of the favorite things, it happened actually today in my class, because I do one at the beginning of every day. They answered my question and then they said where they were from. And then someone was like, oh my gosh, my husband is from 10, I don't know, it's like really, really close, but in the same state. And they knew exactly where the other person was. And it was like really, really small towns in Louisiana. And the one woman is now living in Texas and the other one's from Alaska. So there was no way that those two would have been able to have a conversation. And then someone else said, oh, I'm going to Louisiana with my daughter tomorrow, and this is the where we're going. Oh, you have to stop here. They have the best. And then there was a 10-minute conversation about like crawfish and how amazing and where to get the best. And it just is such an incredible way to start making those bonds for people. Once they have those connections, it's a lot easier to see the person as a human. That is the whole point behind this. So that when there is maybe a conversation that doesn't go as great as you would want it to, or you haven't spoken in a while, you still think of that person as a human. And therefore, the communication that you send them is going to have a different tone to it. And you're going to give them a little more grace. So that's one of my absolute favorite reasons.
Completely agree. And I actually used one of your questions and my question the other day because I was working with a team where two brand new people were starting. But also, the other three members on this team have had a little bit of a bumpy road just because of the way things happened. I wasn't around when everybody got hired, but I kind of came in later in the game, and there were some tensions. And I think, oftentimes that happens, especially when you're just focused on work, because if somebody isn't, or if anyone perceives that somebody isn't doing their job the way they're supposed to, then there can be, tensions built up that way. And again, one of the ways to break those down is to get everybody to see each other as humans and more than just this person who comes into work every day, who's supposed to be doing the data entry or the whatever it is that they're supposed to be doing. So So we had this group with two brand new people, and I gave them the choice. They could either answer what kind of creature would they be, real or imagined, if they could choose anything, and why, which is one of my favorite questions. And then I said, or if you could have any superpower, what
Yeah.
would it be and why? And it really, just like you were saying, it led to all these other conversations because of the way that people answered. So one person said, I would love to time travel because you know a lot when the first moment is going to happen, like the first moment your kid walks, or like we celebrate a lot of the first, but you don't always know that the last is happening when you're experiencing it. So she's like, I wish I could go back and just, observe those moments, knowing that they're the last time that my son is going to do this, or right before he moves to college, or or before somebody passes, or, like
Right.
just to be able to have those moments back. And again, like those sorts of conversations, to your point, make you see everybody else as human,
Yeah.
and they help you connect and have empathy, which is something we talk about all the time. That's that emotional intelligence piece that we're always telling managers they really need to constantly be working on and improving, because it's so important. And having these types of conversations where you get sort of some insight into somebody that you wouldn't get otherwise
Right.
can increase your level of empathy. And as you said, then if things do get difficult, it's you're approaching them with that empathy in mind versus coming at them. It's more likely that you're going to come to them trying to resolve it, and knowing that it's going to work out because you like this person and you know this person, and you want it to work out, versus I'm angry, I'm coming at you because frustrated me, or whatever the case may be. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And I think too, when we talk about this, just a reminder to those of you out there that use social media, think about the way people talk to each other on social media. It is brutal, and it breaks my heart. And one of the reasons is, number one, they don't think they're ever going to see that person in person.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
don't think of them as a real human being with real thoughts, emotions, troubles. You don't know what someone is going through. And so having conversations like this, like Julie was saying, can really lead to deeper empathy, deeper understanding, and actually even a willingness to maybe have those difficult conversations that we've referenced before. Because difficult conversations are always difficult. That's why they're called
Hmm.
difficult conversations. But if you know something about someone, if you have made that connection, you can have those harder conversations and say to them, like, I'm hoping that you understand where I'm coming from. This isn't an attack on you. Or when you said this, it made me feel, I don't believe that you intended that, but I need you to understand how it impacted me, even though I realized that was probably not your intent.
Yeah, and as we've talked about before, when you have these types of conversations, you get to see other people's perspectives in a non-threatening way. Because if you're doing it in a fun environment, like a group setting where you're asking questions about superpowers or imaginary creatures, or, whatever the case may be, and some of that may seem sort of silly, but when you are asking those kinds of questions, you're getting somebody else's perspective. And that can lead to people being more comfortable sharing their perspectives in other ways. So then when you're problem solving, decision making, collaborating, people are going to feel more comfortable sharing their ideas, even when they might be a little different than the group, because you guys have established that that's okay by having these conversations on a regular basis.
I love that. I think you just kind of nailed it right there. One of the other things that I want to mention to our leaders out there who are going, no way, I don't want to know anything about my employees, or like, oh, this is you're getting too much into the realm of their private lives. That's none of my business. You guys, that's what's so brilliant about these conversations. Someone can pick how much information they want to get because they could say, I had someone say to me yesterday, I would like the superpower because, and they were talking because I always ask the why, like Julie and I are saying, you got to ask the why, not just why do you want it, like what is it, but why. They gave me a work example. And then today they gave me more of a personal example. So it allows them to slowly open up if they want to, if they're comfortable. And for those that aren't comfortable giving out personal information, they could still choose work examples. Like their why could be, oh, because of this that I do at work, or because of this I do at work. And then that also helps you have that understanding and empathy that Julie was talking about. When you're talking about problem solving, you can say, you know what? I remember when they said that they would love to have this superpower or they would love to be this, and here was their reason. And you can use that then to maybe connect or be able to explain something differently to them in a way that would better work for them for their understanding.
Absolutely. The last thing that I will say, and then we'll start asking each other questions,
Uh-oh.
is that you do want to give people a chance to warm up to the idea of answering these questions, especially if you make it a regular thing. So, I do encourage you if you have regular meetings to start every meeting off with a question, and you can even make it a task for each group member, like, hey, you get to choose the question next time.
Oh, I like that.
But don't panic when people, might be all looking at each other or seem nervous or seem like they don't want to do it. Don't panic and say, okay, we don't have to. Give them a moment to warm up to the idea. Maybe you go first and share something a little bit more personal or a little bit, um, that they wouldn't expect to know about you so that they are encouraged to do the same. Like it does take a little bit, but generally people really get into it and they enjoy it, and it's always kind of fun, like I've had people with my question about if you could be any creature real or imagine, what would it be and why? Like I've had people say a roach because they find any way to survive, like, and
I
like, so
love
the things,
that.
right? The things that people come up with are fascinating.
Yeah.
And again, like, that's not really sharing anything particularly personal or even work related, but it does also give you some insight into that person. So give people a chance. It might take a couple of tries, before they really get into it, but I think it's worth it.
I'm starting to giggle because I'm thinking about the time someone told me they wanted to be a skunk so that everybody would leave them alone today. And
I
I,
like it.
yeah, I mean, and that's the cool thing is that these answers, especially to that one, can change. Some days I want to be a skunk. Some days I want to be a sloth. Right.
Yeah,
And then some days I'm like, oh, I want to be a puppy or a kitten. So,
exactly.
and then that could really be helpful for, oh, okay, I know how to approach this person today.
Yep. Yep. All right. So on that note, I'm going to ask you what your superpower would be and why.
Anyone who's listening who's ever taken my class knows that I always there's two that I want to go to. Number one is my selfish one is teleportation because I do travel for work. I would love to be able to like snap my fingers and be there and do the training and then snap my fingers and be home with my husband and our animals. I also take, as you, if you've listened to Julie and I before, you know that we both have aging parents at home, and so we both have a lot of responsibilities in that way. And so if I could go up there, take care of them, then go home, and then because it's a 5-6 hour drive, and plus I'm
Yeah.
obsessed on a personal note. Again, I'm obsessed with travel. So there's the personal reason and then my work reason. And then if you go, just so that everybody knows a little more about me, I would love to have the power to heal, and not just physical, but also emotional. I would love to be able to just help people heal from their wounds and be able to then use that kind of healing as an empathetic move to work with others. Those are my two favorites. What about you, Julie?
Yeah,
Can I ask you the same question before I give you one of mine?
sure. But you stole my answer. So
Which one?
healing.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to heal people. I just feel like so many people are hurting in
Hmm.
the world for any number of reasons. And as a Pisces, it is very difficult to see somebody in pain and not be able to do anything about it. So I would love to be able to just heal people even from far away, like just,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
be able to send and I try to do that, I send my energy, but to
Yeah.
actually be able to do it would be amazing.
Oh, it would be. And but see, that goes to why we do this, right? We may not be able to heal people physically or emotionally, but part of what we can do is share our knowledge with you guys. I'm sorry, y'all, because I shouldn't say you guys, because then I'm excluding. So share our knowledge with y'all and really help you to create these environments because change begins one person at a time. And so if we all have that empathetic, kind, loving approach, then we're going to create better environments where our employees want to stay. They're going to feel more engaged. See, there's a method to our madness. All right. One of my new favorites, Julie, I don't think I've told you this one yet. If you could be a character in any book, and I had to extend it to movies. So if you could be a character in any book or any movie, what would it be and why? And you don't have to pick a specific character. You could say, I just want to be in that universe.
Hmm. Um, I think that I would want to be a character in a sci-fi movie where I could do magic. Yep.
I love
So either, a witch or which by the way, I just found
it.
which by the way, I just found this great t-shirt from this company called Kind Cotton. So I'm giving them a shout out. I don't get anything for this, but they for every purchase, they donate an inclusive book to libraries and schools and things like that.
Oh, that's
But
super
they
great.
have, I know, it's great. They had a t-shirt that says, and I bought it, that says, they didn't burn witches, they burned women.
I wish I had a microphone.
Yeah. So anyway, but I would like to have the magic of a witch so that if somebody did try to burn me, as we were talking about, I could just disappear or heal the hate in their hearts so that they
There
no
you
longer
go.
wanted to do it.
Yes. Well, and actually, Julie, that really goes to a good point for some of like what we're talking about. You guys, these conversations, most of this kind of hatred, it revolves around fear, right?
Hmm.
And so if we can help with that fear, then we can pull maybe some of that hatred out. And it's that fear of the unknown. It's that they're scared of it, they've never been around it, they don't understand it. So questions like these, believe it or not, can be that catalyst to moving towards some of these deeper understandings or deeper conversations that help people again be more welcome, be more civil, which again is going to end up being a benefit, a huge benefit for your workplace.
Absolutely. All right. Let's see. If you had to choose one meal to eat for the rest of your life, what
Breakfast.
would it be?
Did I say
I'm
it fast enough?
thinking specific foods, but I like your idea better. Yeah. Mine would be brunch.
Oh, 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 maybe I could say that. Yeah, because brunch involves,
So yeah,
right?
exactly.
You win. I would like to amend my answer. Brunch. Oh boy. Do I have to try to pick a specific food though?
No,
Can we go
no.
with
No, I like breakfast. That was good. That was
Yeah,
good.
because who doesn't love breakfast for dinner?
Right?
It's one of my
Breakfast
favorite.
anytime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
hmm
Exactly.
hmm
Julie, if I gave you a magic wand, since you were talking about magic, and I said that you had one opportunity to make a change to we'll just say the world in general. I don't want to be too specific. Like if I could give you that magic wand and said, you have this and you could make what change? Now, for those of you out there, you could use this question, but say in the workplace, right? Say like, what change would you make in the workplace? Really, really good one to get answers because it lets you know, ooh, we're not doing something that maybe we should be. So, Julie, my broader question to you though is the world.
Well, I don't want to keep being repetitive, but I think I would try to, if I could wave a magic wand and erase hate, that is what I would do.
I love it.
Yeah. And if we go more locally, I would make a safe space for all of the stray cats that are currently roaming our neighborhood because I'm trying and I have little cat houses everywhere and I put cat food out. But it is a rough life for a stray. So
Can I say something to that? If anyone out there who listens to us does pit rescue, my husband right now is trying to find a home for two amazing pits. They're 5 and 7. Their owners, it's none of my business or anybody else's what's happening, but they are devastated at losing these dogs. If we don't find a safe place for them or a foster or a place they can go temporarily, unfortunately, because of their breed, they will be euthanized. And I'm going to say that word because if I use the other word, it'll just make me cry. So if
yeah,
anyone has any information, reach out to us and let us know. I want to make sure that, yeah, I want to save them all.
yeah. I'm going to go in a bit of a different direction, a little bit more lighthearted.
Okay.
So what was your first job, and what is one of the either funniest or most memorable experiences you have from it?
Oh boy. My very first job was working. There was I don't even know what you call it. It's kind of like I guess it would be a bed and breakfast. And I had known the family for years, and I was not 16 yet. I was only 15, but I wanted a job. And so they were like, oh, yeah, we can have you because it's a family business, have you work here. And I was cleaning rooms at this bed and breakfast. And my most memorable experience, and Julie, you will really appreciate this, how crazy I am now about making beds. Um, I didn't know and that the printed side of the sheet should be facing inside. I always like put it the printed side outwards, but really you want the printed side inwards so that when someone peels back those sheets, then they're looking at the print side, both top and bottom. So I had to remake every single bed. It was awful, but let me tell you, I now, man, I can make a bed like nobody's business.
That's hilarious.
Isn't that funny? And Julie and I travel a lot together and in some places where we're making our own beds. So like she and I both experienced this. So it's pretty fun. All right, Julie, favorite candy.
Oh.
Oh, like maybe even like, is there a difference between favorite candy when you were a kid and favorite candy now?
Yeah, favorite candy when I was a kid was anything that was like super sugary. I used to like those fun dips.
Oh, yes.
No, not anymore. No. Now I would say it is certainly chocolate.
Mm.
But I'm a milk chocolate girl. I like some dark chocolate, but I'm a milk chocolate girl. But if I had to pick an absolute favorite, it would probably be Mally's chocolate caramels because they're like caramel is the perfect mix of chewy and gooey. It's not like super melty and it's not like break your jaw sort of, but it's
Right.
just so yeah.
For those,
Mally's out of Ohio.
woohoo!
Milk chocolate
I was gonna
caramels.
say for you non-Clevelanders,
Yeah.
Mally's. Oh my goodness.
Okay, well, so now I have a funny one for our listeners at least. So, Trisha,
Uh-oh.
what was your first impression of me?
Um,
You can be honest. It's okay.
yeah. Okay. Julie and I met at college, and not even like the first day of college. We had this thing called SOAR, which was a student orientation and registration. And Julie and I got paired up. And first of all, I don't know that I actually even made an impression of you because I thought you hated me so much that I'm scared of you. Julie was not the fun-loving, cool, like I mean, she may have been, but it hadn't come out yet. She was very straight-laced, and there was a point where Deborah and I, if you've been following us for a while, you've all met Deborah. If you haven't, she's another friend that you will meet, and coworker that you will meet eventually. And I can remember the day when she looked at Julie, and I was later involved in this too. Like, when did you become the cool one? So I thought she was very smart. I did not think she was fun. And now I think she's like the coolest, smartest, most amazing person ever.
I
How's
wasn't
that?
cool back then. Yeah, no. I mean, it's 100% accurate. I was the biggest goody two shoes. So,
I'm not even going to ask what you thought of me because that's not appropriate for this workplace.
well, you and Deborah corrupted me, but it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. So it's all good.
Never corrupted me that day. We won't get
Yeah.
into that conversation.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I think I need more wine.
Yeah.
What's one of your best childhood memories?
Going to Wisconsin for our summer vacation every year. So my dad's dad, my grandpa Petson and my grandma Petson, had an 86-acre farm in Wisconsin. Um, Closest big city is Eau Claire, but it
Not that
is,
big.
and it's still, turn left at the oak tree and nobody around for miles. And for a city kid, it was the coolest thing to go out there and have that much land, not be able to see a house anywhere, nearby. When we first started going, they still had pigs and chickens, an occasional cow, you know. Um, we had a cow that followed us home. His name was Blackie. And then Blackie ended up on the dinner table, and that was traumatic, very, very traumatic for this little city girl. So it's shocking I'm not vegan because it
Not that you
was,
eat a lot of meat. You're not a big
I
meat.
don't, and that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
But we went for like 2 or 3 weeks every single summer, and it just it's there's a lot of good memories there. A lot of good memories, a lot of good years, just really cool. Very different from what I had experienced growing up in outside of Detroit. So,
I love
yeah.
that. That's
What
a
about you? What's your favorite childhood memory?
So I actually have two that are separate because like we did a lot of family vacations together. But my I have a favorite with my mom and a favorite with my dad. So my favorite with my dad is when he took my brother and I, and then one of his friends and his son. We all went hiking up into the Porcupine Mountains, up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. In mountains, okay, for you out west, probably not, but for me, being growing up in Michigan, it was the biggest mountain I had seen at that point. I was like 8. But we went for an entire week and I had to carry a backpack and I had to, we had all our food. We had to hang it up so the bears wouldn't get it. And, when you were trying to get clean, you were in a stream and it was a really, really cool experience. And again, city people are probably like, no way, that sounds awful. But it wasn't really even about where, it was about the fact that I was with my dad. Like I
Yeah.
felt really cool that I was with my dad. And then I would say one of my favorites with my mom, and I wasn't really a, a child at this point. I mean, I still was, but I was like 12. My mom took me to my first protest.
Ah, very cool.
So I mean, she's gonna be like, really? Of all the things, I took you here, we went there, and the first thing that comes to your mind is the protest. But yeah, I mean, that had a really, really big impact on me to say, to know that that was one of the amazing things that we have a right to do in this country. And I think that might have even been one of the reasons I ended up in law.
What were you protesting?
It was a movement called Take Back the Night, and we were
Oh,
wanting to keep women safe.
yep.
So,
Yep. I
yeah,
remember those.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. It was my first march.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. What was your first concert?
Um. Okay. So, uh, the same people I went to the march with, funny enough, of friends of my parents, used to rent a home in Canada every year. And so I would get to go up and stay with them. We were in Toronto, and I got to see a concert. It started out with Sha Na Na, remember about the okay, right? But then here's where it gets cool: the Police.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like there are not many people my age, our age, that can say that they saw the Police in concert. Now, I only got to stay for like 3 or 4 songs, but I was there long enough and I bought my brother this hideous t-shirt that was all like frayed and fringed. Yeah. So that was my very first concert.
The 80s were such a bad fashion
I
decade.
mean, wow.
Such a bad fashion decade.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah. I wish I had a picture of that right now. That
Yeah.
shirt. That
I can picture it. I
can
can
you?
picture it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Too
What
funny.
about you? I have to ask, what was your first one?
Okay, so this is embarrassing, but I'm 90% sure my first concert was New Kids on the Block,
People are so
which
fans.
I know, but I have to say, missed opportunity. When they came back, they should have renamed themselves the Old Kids on the Block because they are old now. I mean, we're old.
We're old,
Like,
so
that
yeah,
was a missed opportunity. That would have made me laugh. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't even know who in that band anymore, but like, you can't call yourself a new kid on the block. Come
no,
on.
no.
No, but one of my favorite ones, and it was the first concert I think I went to once I had started Albion, was Def Leppard. They put
Oh,
on a
they're
really good
great.
show.
Yeah,
And their
I
songs, their music's still great. I
mhm.
recently like downloaded a bunch of their songs and I was like, oh my, this is great.
Yes. Yeah, they're still awesome. I don't care. I've seen them, I don't know, like 3 or 4 times, and I think they're great. My first one is as a teenager where I could go without my parents was Cinderella. If you remember Cinderella, but it gets better. Winger and the Bullet Boys. It was, and this will only mean something to our Michigan friends, but it was at Pine Knob.
Oh, yes,
And
yes, yes.
so we were staying at my grandmother's house and we got to drive to the concert by ourselves. And yeah, so it felt like a really big deal.
That's hilarious. My Scott, for those of you who don't know, that's my husband, and I were talking today or yesterday actually on the way to boxing because they were playing a bunch of great music on. I listen to Lithium on Sirius XM and
All right.
Alt Nation a lot. And I was like, God, band names back then were just the best. Like they don't make any sense, like Def Leppard, Counting Crows, Pearl Jam. What's a Pearl Jam? Like, I don't know, but we have all these like Nirvana. Obviously, that one's a little bit more obvious, but like just they had great names.
Yeah,
And I don't know, I'm probably just a little bit biased, but I just don't feel like bands have those kind of great names anymore,
I would agree.
you know?
I would agree.
Where I mean, they probably all came up with their band names while they were high and tripping on LSD. I mean, like, let's be honest, but still.
Not a conversation you probably want to have with your employees, by the way.
All right, we should probably wrap it up.
Yeah.
So, ask a final question.
Boy, oh boy, you put me on the spot. Let me think.
I know.
I'm going to ask you the question that I love to do as my follow up to the if you could have any superpower, because again, I'm most often teleportation. So let's pretend I had the powers of teleportation and I could take you anywhere on the world, off the world, real, imagined, forward in time, backward in time. Where would you want to go and why?
I would want to go to Poland, where when, where and when my grandfather lived and was alive, because we have no idea where that was. Because we don't know much about my dad's side of the family. So he what I know about my grandfather is that he was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania in 1905, but they did not start keeping records until 1910. So there's no birth certificate, there's no nothing.
Oh, wow.
And after he was born, they moved back to Poland. And I think when he was about 17 or 18, he came back to the United States because he was a US citizen and it was World War One. And at that point, you were supposed to become part of the melting pot. So my grandfather never really talked about his past. We know he had a brother and a sister. The brother did come to visit once. This was long before I was ever born. Uh, but they think that they had sewed lining into the pockets of his coat, and they never heard from him again. So they're assuming he got caught on the way back home. And then his sister presumably got married, changed her name. They lost touch. So we have no idea where anybody's from. And then any of the records that we did have, my dad's first house burned down when he was 11. So all of that went with them. I have multiple times looked on ancestry.com and there's just not a lot. Our name changed like most people's when they came to America,
Yeah.
which it's already like a confusing name, but it's a Polish name. It's all consonants, very few vowels, silent R's, whatever. It's fine.
Very proud of
Um,
myself when I learned how to spell it. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, yeah. It's like everyone's password because nobody would guess it. But but so that's what I'd want to do. I'd love to know more about that side of the family. My mom's side of the family, we can trace all the way back to General Bragg. Fort Bragg was named after him. So we have like generations of history on that side of the family, but we have very little on my dad's side of the family. So that's what I would do.
I love that. That is so cool.
Yeah. Well, now I feel like I have to pick a different topic because that was kind of deep, and to give you a chance to end on something deep. What's
Hmm.
your biggest fear?
The last moments,
Mhm.
the last moments of anything. Um, I always want one more, and I think we all do. But I think that I always want just one more minute, one more time. If I had just done this, and so I try to remind myself if I think of someone, call them. That
Yeah.
just happened. I just thought about someone the other day. I didn't call them and I had no idea. But it was my dad's cousin who was exceptionally amazing when my grandmother died. And she passed away
Mm.
yesterday. and I had no clue that she was even sick. She got sick and was gone, cancer. And so yeah, those last moments, like they scare me. And fire.
Yeah.
I have, yeah, my house burning because I love my pets. They're my kids. And so yeah, I have, yeah, so it's those two are probably my big fears.
Okay. All right. So now that I've asked that, I think we need to end on something more fun. So, what's the funniest joke you've ever heard?
Oh, no, no, that's not fair. I'm terrible at jokes. I forget the punchline or I deliver it wrong. I'm a dad joke person. Like I love the dad jokes. The t-shirt that they have from who is it that has it? The Make You Feel Good company. And they have "This is not a drill," like, which is what something we would all say, but there's a hammer on the picture on the t-shirt. Like that's the kind of stuff that makes me laugh. I admit it. I'm a dork. I can't help it.
Oh, I like that. Well, so you don't have to ask me. I'll share too. So my first one is this joke because I told it for years because I don't know why I find it so funny, but I find it funny. So what do you get when you mix a brown chicken and a brown cow?
Brown chicken, brown
Chicken
cat.
brown cow. Brown chicken brown cow. Okay, and then this one, my husband said the other day, he did not make it up. He probably got it off one of those dad jokes social media sites, but we were going to the doctor and we both had to have blood drawn. And so he's like, I saw this thing and it was like, I'm not giving blood anymore. There's too many questions. Like, whose blood is it? Where did you get it? And why is it in a bucket?
Oh,
So of course we told that to the doctor. She thought it was funny.
I'm sure she did. Oh my goodness.
All right. So again, this we wanted this to be more of a lighthearted episode, but we hope you see how asking these questions can really teach you things about the people that you work with every day, fun things, and how they can break down barriers because you can really get to know people when you ask these sort of things in a fun, non-confrontational way, where you can share perspectives and just make it normal to share these kinds of perspectives and viewpoints and information, and just encourage people to make those deeper connections.
Remember, Julie and I are always talking to you guys about how if you have disengaged and unsatisfied employees, that costs you more than you ever realize. So these kind of questions, believe it or not, because of the fact that we are breaking down these boundaries, as Julie was saying, it can really lead to increased job satisfaction. People start connecting, they feel like they belong. And if people feel like they belong, you're going to have an easier time at that retention and that engagement. So while it all seemed like this was fun and games, and it was for us, I hope it was for you too. Again, there is a purpose behind all this, and we hope you find it useful.
All right. So, Trish, how's your love block treating you?
It's still lovely.
Same with mine. I don't think we've ever gotten to the end of an episode and said the wine was bad, but
There was one time when we were like, eh.
well, but there was one I hated the wine from the get-go. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
But yeah, anyway. All right. Well, until next time, go ask some interesting questions to your group and we will catch you on the next episode. Cheers.
Cheers.